Well, Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma's term as AU Commission chairperson has officially come to an end and a new leader has been elected. African heads of state are discussing how to transform the body, which has often been criticized as inefficient. Well, just what kind of legacy has Dlamini-Zuma left as chairperson? We're joined by political analyst Jock Matthew Agai this morning. Jock, good morning, and thanks for your time. I mean, just looking at the reviews Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma had, not many feeling that she'd done the best job or the greatest job, but the other side of it is that she's had to deal with a lot of what we termed strongmen on the continent, and that was a difficult task for her. What do you think?
Yeah. She has done her best. I mean, being a former foreign minister here in South Africa, and she was able to manage the seat well. I mean, based on the way she can. But we also need to understand that this is the first time that a woman is taking that seat. So I'm sure that within herself there are many things that she has to adjust in order to. I mean, she knows that it is a male-dominated place. So, but her this incoming has actually helped in so many ways.
The other feeling, and bringing it closer to home, is that stint, if you were to put it, as a AU Commission chair, was merely her biding time so she could come back to South African politics. I don't know if you agree with that sentiment, and it's been a criticism from some quarters.
Yes, it's a preparation. It's a kind of a preparation for her so that she will come home. But you could also remember that while she was an AU chairperson, she do come home a lot. In fact, there's been criticized by some analysts that she concentrated in South African politics more than the African Union based in politics. And now it's possible that it's going to reap something positive for her, because the ANC may actually consider her as a future candidate for the ANC presidency.
Just looking at what you could maybe pick out as the highlights of her time as AU Commission chair, was there anything substantial, any changes she made, or anything that she held together that was falling apart at the time?
I think while she was the AU chairperson, her popularity seems more to be home, that is South African based, than African based, because like I said, her interest as she's been going on, I mean, she's been coming home so much for ANC in politics, but that is fine. She's an ANC leader and a cadre of the ANC, which is the ANC that supported her to go into, I mean, to be part of the African Distinct Union. So yeah, the legacy she left basically is she made sure that the launching of the Agenda 2063, and that is a very good thing that will have a roadmap for African economy, including African distant politics in the next less than 50 years. And the other thing is that she's been able to develop the interests of women into African distant politics, and you could see after her, 2 other women came now to contest for the seat, even though they did not make it.
So she's opened the door in that.
Yes, she has opened the door.
What do we know about Moussa Faki Mahamat, and what do we know about how he can, I mean, President Jacob Zuma saying the African Union is ready to transform. What role do you see Mahamat playing in this, and is he the best person for this job?
Unlike Ma'am Nkosazana, he had so much experience in the African Union. Yeah. She was the Minister of Foreign Affairs here, but then she doesn't have experience like he had, because now he has already worked with the African Union for quite a number of years, and now that he's taken the seat, I'm sure that he will be more versatile, and I'm sure that if he understands the problem of the African Union, now the problem is his willingness to actually begin to put what need to be put on. For example, the issue of the implementation of the Agenda 2063. Will he go on with that program, or will he initiate his own new distant program? Likewise, there are specific challenges also that he might be faced with, for which the African leaders have not been able to tackle certain things. For example, pre-election violence and post-election violence. At the time of Nkosazana, I mean, such things has not been addressed. At the moment, the African Union depend on the African Peace Mission group, but I think we can go further than that into creating an opportunity to say, is it possible for Africa to have an African electoral courts? Because often the local courts, in local politics within Africa, there is no trust, because there's a belief that executive always influence the distinct justice system in a way that it will work for the interest of either an incumbent or a specific person. That's
I mean, and that came out recently when we saw what happened in the Gambia. And I think the ineffectiveness of the AU was highlighted.
Yes. And there seems to be low trust among citizens on their own cause. So I think it's a good idea if African Union can develop an electoral court to handle pre-election violence and possibly post-election cases, so that it will be
And speaking of elections, Jock, I mean, is the African Union, what does it need to do? What can Mahamat do to stand up? Can he stand up to those strongmen? Lots of criticism of African leaders who want to continue to extend their term and rule till forever. Yeah. I mean, that is something that needs to be tackled as well. How will he fare in what's seen as this boys' club?
Yeah, I think basically he needs to build on the issues of security within the continent. And economic development is very, very important. But also, the main issue is, will he have the will to do so? Will he have the will to do so? Because, people like Amina Mohammed from Kenya, I mean, she's been outspoken. I actually thought that she will be the next decent leader.
Kenya supported him, though.
But regional blocs are very, very important. And you see, ECOWAS is actually making a distinctive role. I mean, playing a very
stronger role
among the regional bodies in this in Africa. So I think he needs to build on the issue of security. But will he have the will? Somehow he had to depend on the votes, certain votes, particularly from West Eastern Africa, and he has worked hand in hand with the Chadian president. So somehow there could be an influence probably from Chadian president on him, but then if he wants to stand out, really we have a lot of challenges in Africa, and we will want him to really be on his own and stand out and speak what needs to be spoken, particularly on the issue of tenureship. Do we need to have a period that the leader has to rule, issues like that.
And he comes in at a very interesting time, Jock, as well. I mean, we know Donald Trump, and we know his sentiments about Africa. So one has to wonder just how Mahamat will lead in terms of weathering that storm. What's going to happen? What is the US going to do or not do when it comes to Africa? It's going to be very interesting to watch that.
Yes, it is. And particularly, people criticize Donald Trump a lot. Yes, he got his distinct weaknesses, but I think he wants to teach people also the issue of dependency. I heard our president Jacob Zuma today saying that on the issue of funding for the African Union, I think the idea that Trump is bringing, it will make us to really look inside and what.
So not such a bad thing for the continent, you say?
To some extent, there are things that need to be checked, especially in terms of trade. But in terms of politics, we need to look inside. How can we use our own resources and take care of our own needs within Africa?
Does Mahamat have what it takes to bring all of this together, do you think?
I don't see much of that in him, but then due to the challenge that is being coped up, we say now, Africa, we are sensitized now. People know people are interested in democracy, people are interested in politics. You can check the social media. We have different kind of contribution to make. So there's a pressure. I'm sure that due to the pressure that he may realize at the end, and he sees that, no, the continent is looking up to you. We have this kind of challenges. Our refugees, the issue of refugees, you see what is happening So I'm sure that the pressure that we will add on, people will add on him. I'm sure that because of that, he will try to make certain things that, even though he does not have the will, he may be forced to do so.
Interesting times, but let's hope that the body can live up to what it's supposed to do. Thanks very much. That's political analyst Jock Matthew Agai.